Good evening, viewers. India's growing young population gives it an edge, but to capitalize on it, the education system needs to ramp up to meet the demands of the future workforce for the multi-skilled professionals. This ecosystem of education technology, or edtech, so we call, is expected to have a greater interaction between people, between machines, and even the digital technologies to better serve the needs of society in providing diverse benefits to both local and global economies, especially when the online education is becoming mainstream. In today's chapter, we discuss about the disruptions of this sector, especially being pushed by the COVID-19. With us, we have a young and a very dynamic panel. Their organizations are already the poster boys for the online education industry. Without a further ado, let me just give a round of introduction. Mr. Arjun Mohan, the India CEO of UpGrad, a gold medalist from IIM Kozhikode. Arjun started his career with Byju's as a teacher and moved up the ranks into a leadership role. He ran most of the sales and marketing in the company's early years and was until very recently running its international business. Prior to Byju's, Arjun drove sales and operations at Titan Industries and did his stints with Tata Motors, Tata Realty and Infrastructure Limited. A very warm welcome, Arjun.
Thank you.
Mr. Irwin Singh, the managing director at Udemy. He's responsible for opening Udemy's first Indian office, growing the local team and deepening the company's investment in the region. Anand is also focused on further localizing the Udemy student and instructor experience in India. Before joining Udemy, Anand was the chief operating officer at OLX India, a consumer-to-consumer marketplace for pre-owned goods, jobs, and real estate, where he led initiatives across marketing, product and technology, customer experience, monetization strategy, and advertising. A very warm welcome, Mr. Irwin.
Thanks, Naranjot.
Mr. Mohan Kannegal, the senior director at Emeritus. Mohan Kannegal has built two digital education businesses, one as an entrepreneur and the other as an intrapreneur. He co-founded MeritTrack, scaled, exited, and integrated into Manipal, built and scaled Pariksha, exam delivery, and EduNext learning platforms. He launched Manipal Pro Learn and scaled it to 30,000 paid learners. Currently, he is a senior director at Emeritus, and Emeritus is actually making world-class executive education accessible via digital platforms. Very, very warm welcome, Mr. Mohan.
Thanks, Naranjot. Thank you.
Mr. Suchindra Kumar, the executive director from Ernst & Young. Mr. Suchindra Kumar is an executive director and he heads the education sector advisory team at the Ernst & Young India office. He has worked with multiple clients in the education sector and edtech sector for over 11 years across business and marketing strategy, product and user experience strategy, internationalizations, etc. He has also worked with governments both at the center and states on policy-related matters on education. He has helped many non-for-profit organizations in leveraging technology and edtech interventions in improving the outcomes for learners. He's an alumnus of IIM Bangalore and Delhi College of Engineering. A very warm welcome, Suchindra.
Thank you, Taran.
Mr. Hari Krishna Nair, the co-founder for Great Learning, passionate about high-quality education and its ability to transform lives. He has experienced it firsthand as well. On a mission to enable others to have similar transformational opportunities through education. He's grateful for having been able to make a difference in the lives of 35,000 learners in past 10 years, working on impacting the next 10 lakh through the e-learning and edtech. Very warm welcome, Mr. Hari.
Thank you. Thanks, Naranjot.
And today's moderator, Mr. Sahil Chalana, the founder for Collegedunia, India's biggest college search and review portal. He's a serial entrepreneur who has founded companies, not just Collegedunia, but companies like 3.14, Friza, Car HP, and Zootons. Hi, Sahil.
Hi.
So that's the panel for today. So Mr. Sahil will be the one who is moderating the discussion. Oh, we have Mr. Krishna as well. A little round of introduction from Mr. Krishna Kumar, the CEO of Simplilearn. A serial entrepreneur with over 19 years of experience in information technology, Mr. Kumar has a successful track record on building new ventures. He imagined the need for constant reskilling and lifelong learning way before it got established as a major way of professional advancement. Simplilearn's humble beginning as a blog to one of the largest global player in the professional certification training is a testimony of its vision and grit and execution. Mr. Krishna was also awarded the CEO of the Year in 2016 by the CEO magazine and was identified as Fortune 40 under 40 leader 3 years in a row. A very warm welcome, Mr. Krishna.
Thank you.
Over to you, Sahib.
For the discussion.
So we have a very, very esteemed panel, and we have more than 500 attendees for today. So thank you to all the audience who's attending this. We as Collegedunia have always taken this initiative to host very high quality webinars on online education, generally education, where we've invited a lot of people from IIMs, the directors of universities, the chancellors of universities like Parul, Lovely, which are handling more than 20,000 students. So this is intended to be more like, there are a lot of stakeholders who listen to important people like us, and they get to handle how do we handle the crisis of COVID-19. So this is the first session we are holding on online education, and we have a very, very esteemed panel. So I'd like to invite say thank you to all. And so let's begin. So as I understand that most of you guys are in online education, which is professional learning. So we'll keep the topics mostly around that. So I'll start with Mr. Irwin. So you've been with Udemy for some time. Udemy is one of the oldest in online education now, a $2 billion company, offices in Ankara as well, and one in South America, US, and in India. So what is it, the trends you see, especially in online Indian education? And just for consolation, just tell us if you can what percentage of global revenue is India. So that'd be very, very heartening for a lot of the guests here as well to know that how India is coping up. So over to you, sir. If you can tell us how Udemy journey has been over the years, and especially in India.
Thanks, Sahil, and hi to all our listeners who are dialing in from all over the country. That's the true power of online, right? Allowing us to actually get together in this time of crisis, but allowing us to effectively chat with each other as well. And let me kind of answer your question by just rewinding the timeline to 2 months back, say February 2020. Where were we? So we kind of define it as an era which we call as the fourth industrial revolution. What do you mean by fourth industrial revolution? It's marked by a few things. Fast pace of change, unprecedented pace of change, in fact, heightened globalization, digital and tech essentially impacting all kinds of, all facets of work and life. And that kind of forcing people to essentially keep pace, especially people who are in a work or a job, and to keep pace with the skills which are needed to adapt to the fast changing world. We used to call, within Udemy, we coin it as the skills economy. This is the skills economy. And the currency of our skills economy is learning. So learning is the new currency within the skill economy. And the most important skill for everyone in the skills economy is the ability to learn. And it's not really one-time education. So gone were the days when you actually get into a college and you exit, and after that, you just in a cushy corporate job and you don't really reskill yourself. In fact, if I were to reflect back on my corporate journey, I think I've had maybe potentially 3 different careers in a single career. In a lifespan of today, people need to reinvent themselves at least 10 times. That's what Udemy research says. And this is where Udemy comes in. Udemy's mission is to improve people's lives through learning. Our goal is to empower every learner to find their right teacher. In the past, we've actually chosen our colleges and our institutes. We've never really chosen our teachers. So the question would be, how do we do this? We do this by being the world's largest and India's largest marketplace for online learning, where anybody who has a skill and passion to teach, it could be you, it could be me. I have a particular skill and I'm passionate to share it with people all around the world. I can go to Udemy and create affordable online courses which help students, businesses, governments gain the skill they need to compete in today's economy. Cut forward to India. So your question was also about India. So India is Udemy's second largest market globally. We are amongst the fastest growing markets for Udemy in the world. In 2019, we had triple-digit growth year on all matrices, essentially indicating the curiosity, the demand which we see for skilling and learning in India relative to the rest of the world. Now let's talk about the scenario of today, right? Come COVID-19, and what has really happened. So we see globally many countries locked down. India has had the most stringent lockdown amongst all countries in the world. Everybody's life has changed. People are staying at home. They are either working from home, they are studying from home. And one thing that we immediately noticed was increased demand for Udemy across all facets of our business, be it learners, instructors, or corporate customers. So more instructors are now creating courses and sharing their knowledge and using that as an incremental source of income. The percentage change which we see pre-COVID and post-COVID is 55% increase. More learners are enrolling into courses. The rate of increase which we see in pre-COVID versus post-COVID period is roughly about 400% plus, which is a tremendous increase in the number of enrollments on the platform. Corporate learning. We see corporate people like you and me working from home and adjusting to work from home, and also kind of having heightened anxiety about work and jobs and skills overall. We've seen corporate learning on the site has increased by roughly about 80%, which is an increase in hours of content which get consumed on the platform pre-COVID and post-COVID. So as you can see, there's been a demand for all kinds of skills, from technology skills to business skills to personal enrichment skills. All these segments are adequately represented on Udemy. As of today on Udemy, we've got more than 150,000 courses from 57,000 plus instructors listed on the platform. We always knew that education will move online because of all the advantages around access, affordability, flexibility, learn at your own pace, at your own time, being the key value propositions. But we see during this particular period of time, there's an accelerated pace due to the COVID-19 pandemic. It's hard to future gaze, but I think we are going to see a new normal as we get into the post-COVID phase. Learners will get familiarized with online learning. There are more new learners coming on the platform right now than ever before. And most of them will start truly practicing lifelong learning from our perspective.
So great perspective, Irwin. I'll move on to Krishna. So Krishna, yours is one of the oldest stories in online learning. You were the first to get, I think, funded. I remember one of the conversations. I think I was a co-panelist with you at IIM Bangalore, and I remember you telling me how much are you focusing on the corporate side of education. And if I look at your courses today, they are focused around data science, learning more around machine learning, R and Scrum learning. So please tell us how. What has been the how have I want to know about your learnings from initial thing. How was the online education initially, and what is it now, and how do you see the future in terms of both the revenues and the growth coming in?
Yeah, so thanks, Sahil. So hello everyone. So I'm Krishna. I'm the founder and CEO of Simplilearn, and we are an online learning platform for professionals. Just to clarify, I think my co-panelist Irwin talked about how things have changed post-COVID, and I think I'll agree to most of it that he's saying, that we see a lot of interest, we see a lot of inquiries from potential learners who want to come on platforms like us and learn from us. The difference between how Udemy looks at learning and how Simplilearn looks at learning, I just spend maybe a minute to explain the difference of the product. So there are all kinds of learners. There are learners who can learn on their own, so they can go to platforms which are like what we call in Simplilearn language as low touch. There are curated high quality video, and you can learn from those videos on your own. And then there are platforms like Simplilearn, where once you come and enroll, we take care of ensuring that you understand the topic, you are really guided through the program, and you end up successfully completing the course and acquiring a certificate or a credential that you can go and demonstrate to your potential employers and get benefit of completing a course. So in addition to learning the topics, you also get something that you can demonstrate, and that has potential value in the eyes of employers. So it's a much more engaged platform. It's a much more, I'll say, involved learning, you get a lot of mentoring, you get a lot of support, you get a lot of live class, and hence the price of the product is also substantially higher than what you get it on some other low-touch platforms. Now, coming back to you, Sahil, on corporate learning, so it's a very interesting time, right? Just before COVID, a lot of companies were talking about on how they want to reinvent their workforce, how they want to get ready for the digital future, and so on and so forth. And suddenly this COVID comes and everybody becomes digital from the next day onwards, right? I hardly see anyone say who were like pure play offline providers suddenly moved to digital, talking anything negative about digital. I'll give you some examples of offline schools, right? In the past, whenever I've interacted with the teachers of my kids' school, they always have the response to online learning as was this something that doesn't work. There's a sideshow. There's nothing like face-to-face learning. You get to learn only when you come to the class. You interact with the student. You want to see the face of the student. Many of them have started teaching online because of this forced scenario. Now I see all of them talking so great things about online learning that, okay, I'm able to teach effectively. I don't see any drop. I can see which student is progressing, which student is not progressing. I don't know what percentage of that statement is coming from the fear that if they say that it's not working, they might lose their job. They want to justify that, okay, I'm doing my job while I'm still at work. So I think a lot of such things are happening. We don't know how much is the reality and how much is the truth. When it comes to corporate, I think there are two kinds of corporate. There are corporates which are quite concerned about their business, like they don't know whether they will exist in business few months down the line or not. So they are definitely tight on their spend. So they don't want to go and spend on L&D because their own business is under survival. So I'm sure that is a higher priority for them. But there are a lot of corporates who are seeing this as an opportunity to do a lot of skilling, that wherein in the past, their team members always complained that they have too much of work, they're not getting time, they don't want to get organized as a team and undergo some training because they had so much to deliver and there are so many other different priorities that they have in life. So we see those kind of things coming to us quite frequently, saying that, okay, now is the time wherein we wanted to do something, we couldn't do it in the past, we want to get it done today. So if I say net, I think the number of hours, if that is the measurement of success on the corporate side, that has definitely increased. We see much higher usage, we see much higher number of inquiries. But when I have to tell about
More
revenue,
than 100%?
pardon me?
More than 100% or something like that?
I think usage must be in that range. I don't know exactly the top of the mind number, but usage has definitely increased and gone very, very high. But if I ask me, has the revenue become 100%? Definitely not. I think a lot of them are not really spending money on buying the product. But employees from those companies are more willing to spend and acquire skills. So there we have seen some uptake, wherein people who are like sitting on the fence, they're not sure that they should be taking a course or not. They are taking the decision to take up a course. There again, there are two kinds of people. There are few who are concerned about their jobs. They're concerned whether they can go ahead and pay for this course or not. But there are a lot of people who are taking this leap of faith that if I am more employable, if I am more skilled, I have more chance. I am in a better position to be employed than my peers. So they are going ahead and taking the call. Another good thing that has happened during this whole lockdown is that many companies, including us, have offered a lot of free courses in the market. So many people who are coming to us saying that, okay, I don't know what to do and I don't have money. We are saying that, okay, don't worry. A lot of free stuff provided to you. Get started from there. Once you reach a certain point, you can take a call whether you want to go for a more involved and a more advanced course or not. But this is good enough to keep you engaged for the next couple of months. So you don't have to spend money from day one when you want to start your distance learning.
So my next question is to Mohan. So Mohan, so you have Eruditus and now Emeritus. So will you please tell us how do you see professional education and acceptance in the corporate side in terms of one is the propensity of students to pay, and the second side is the acceptance of corporates around the degrees in terms of the higher employability or something like that. Just if you can share more views around just that. Okay.
So a little bit about the company. What we do essentially is two founders founded this company. One went to Harvard, the other went to INSEAD. So the mission of the company really is to bring that quality of education to a larger set of people across the world. And online seemed the best way to achieve that. So that's essentially what we do. We work with MIT, with Wharton, with Berkeley, with Columbia. So we work with the best schools in the world, bringing their executive education programs online and to students across the world. In terms of acceptability, if your question is there a larger trend towards acceptability today versus before? I would say it's a bit early to judge that in terms of has it changed. One very noticeable thing is that so in our business, for example, for us, supply of courses is from the schools and there's demand. So very noticeably, the supply has suddenly increased. So every school conversation we have today, schools are saying, can I shift this course online right now? Can I move some of these longer duration courses which we are doing in the classroom? Can that move online, etc.? So among the largest providers of high quality education to online, which I suspect downstream would mean acceptability. Okay, so as an example, Harvard class this year, Stanford's MBA class, Harvard's MBA class, a whole bunch of them have all moved online. Now you are going to get a batch of Harvard, INSEAD, MBA educated students who came out through an online education system. So I suspect that will lead to far higher acceptability.
My next question is to Mr. Hari. What about you? So how do you see with starting out with a brand like Great Lakes and now moving into Great Learning? And I think you have a very significant experience with very high quality corporates. How do you see acceptance of online learning, the employability? Do you see that one day there will be a day when you'd be saying, great, we have a degree from Great Learning, and this guy is very employable. And once employers start to see that, you'll see more enrollments in Great Learning. Do you see that day happening in terms of the quality and the quality of services you provide? And just that day, I don't know when that will be, but do you see that happening?
Sure. Thanks, Sahil. On a very brief note, very glad to be here with everybody. I think you have almost everybody from upskilling on this one panel, so that's a great job done by you guys. So about me, so I am the co-founder at Great Learning, and this is my 10th year in executive education now. 7 years with Great Learning and 3 years before that at Great Lakes. So I've gone through a few cycles, and I've had the good fortune of understanding the executive education market, the way it's evolved, and that it has evolved, right? There have been a lot of changes that have happened, and we can see that the pace of change is also kind of picking up. Great Learning, is one of the country's largest online education providers, and our entire focus has been on professional education, providing high quality or access to high quality professional education in partnership with leading educational institutions across the globe, from Stanford to UT Austin to Great Lakes to more Indian universities and so on. To answer your question, Sahil, early on itself, this is a very valid question, and this was one of the things that we wanted to solve. So we've always been working very closely with corporates, right? Ever since we started in 2013. So today we work with more than 350 corporates, wherein and we work with them across various aspects. So some of them conduct hackathons, for example. Some of them give projects for our learners to do, right? So there's a lot of engagement that happens. Plus, what we're also able to do is we're able to showcase talent that is graduating from Great Learning and its programs to these corporates. And today, things have come to a point wherein there is, of course, this is all pre-COVID. So we know that right now in COVID times, hiring is not happening. But at least pre-COVID, what we've been able to establish successfully is that every month there were corporates that were coming in and essentially either posting jobs on our job boards for our learners and alumni, and also participating in our career fairs. We do a lot of career fairs for our learners and alumni, right? So this is an engine that we've actually we've consciously worked upon, right? And that is an engine that we've been revving over the years. To your question on acceptability and whether corporates will take this as credentials. See, my read is this, that ultimately it is not about the piece of paper that you have, right? That is only a signal that yes, you have done a program in data science or AI or any other skill set from a very reputed institution. I think that is a signal. Ultimately, what corporates want to really understand is what is the level of skill you have, right? Because for all of these jobs, one thing that is consistent is that, the selection process is very rigorous, right? There are multiple rounds. There's a lot of probing that happens. So as long as a learner, irrespective of whether you are a professional with 8-10 years of experience or whether you're a fresher right out of college, as a learner, if you're able to demonstrate this skill set, right, then that is how the quality of the program gets established, right? And I think we've been very fortunate in that aspect, because we see that a lot of our corporates come back and regularly engage with us when it comes to hiring of talent. And overall, we've seen close to 65% of our learners graduate to success, or have successful career transitions within 6 months of completion. So I think it is happening. It's happening gradually. And as companies see more quality talent, and as companies get to experience the skill set that these graduates demonstrate, I think the credibility of the program, of the partner, and overall of online education also increases.
Cool. Thank you, Preet. Yeah. So Arjun, hi. So first, congratulations. You're the first CEO to join in the lockdown. I think you're the first story wherein a CEO has joined and he's joined a company for a month, has never even met physically the team. So you're the great case study of a lockdown CEO. We have one audience question. It's around, can you tell us that how do you make sure that people can pay the fees of your courses in a market when there is a fear of job losses? And also companies are really spending on employees when they themselves are not sure whether they're going to retain the employees. So I had some of these questions during the financial crisis as well. So I think it'll be great if you can answer specifically this.
Sure. Thanks, Sahil. So yeah, as you just mentioned, I joined the company a couple of weeks ago on April 1st, and I joined remotely, and I still haven't met my team physically. Still, so you can say that I've been living the literal online life, where I'm simulating exactly what a learner does on all our platforms, right? So I'm living the life which we are professing about. Before going into the question, just a bit about UpGrad. I'm sure that most of the learners here who have joined today knows about the portfolio we do. We are not a MOOC. We are a curated online portfolio. Curated online platform. We do courses starting from certificate to diploma to master's degree, etc. Completely done online, complete with certificate from UpGrad or from a distinguished organization like IIIT or IIT Chennai, so on and so forth. We also try to make the experience holistic by giving mentoring, by having industry interaction, live projects, pieces, and finally, like Hari mentioned, all these things are done with the intention of upskilling and a career transition. So we also support the career transition requirement of the learners who come in there, whether it is in the form of finding a job for a fresher or finding a specialized career transition opportunity for a learner who is already in the industry.
Do you track how many people have you been able to place, let's say 100 enrollments?
We do that. So the typical thing is that a lot of people come in thinking that I need a transition, but only a good number of them finally decide that I will figure out something. So what we do is we literally do a career fair every month where we have a lot of partners, a lot of corporates who come in and do these fairs with us, both offline and online. These days it's literally online. So these companies have requirement of specialized portfolio based on the degree programs and based on the diploma programs we give in, and they are open to interviewing based on the kind of people who apply to that. So typical ratio I'm seeing is that around 40 to 50% of the people actually apply after the course, and good number of them get into a career transition mode. So that's how it works out. Now, coming into the details of the question you specifically asked, yes, COVID-19 is it's a very, very uncertain times. Most of us are facing a problem like this for the first time in our career or in our life. This must be the first time in 40 years that India will actually have a negative growth in GDP. So yes, there is a lot of uncertainty around, both in terms of at the level of learners and at the level of companies. what I'm seeing is, if I look at the various streams of businesses, which is B2C, where we are directly talking to the learners, academies, where we are talking to the colleges, B2B, where we are working with corporates. Corporate part of it is in a flux. Everyone is waiting and watching, especially the offline part and all. People are like not even talking about offline anymore. People who used to earlier insist that I need an offline component to this program are not even talking about it. Everyone is talking about all online. I mean, like it's not that the hiring has stopped. It is that everyone is on a wait and watch mode. People, the veterans in the industry knows that it's not a cycle. It's a freeze. And looking at the way things are going, maybe it is a net positive for India. So everyone is in a wait and watch mode. So few of the people I interacted with, what they keep referring to the example of the 2008 meltdown, the financial crisis. They say that during the financial crisis, everything came to a halt. Everyone stopped hiring. But 6 months later, literally everyone was scrambling and trying to hire people because suddenly things started going on. So people are still hopeful. They are looking at it. So on a B2B side, I would expect a few months or a weeks of pause before it all comes in line. On the learner side of it, we are seeing a lot of uncertainty. But at the same time, when people are not sure about the future, what they typically do is they try to take care of all they try to look at all options to be on the safer side. So upskilling and online learning seems to be trending. That's what we are seeing. We are seeing a lot of traffic increase, especially on the free courses. But as Krishna Kumar suggested, the traffic increases predominantly on the free courses side. I was not really seeing the translation of that into a revenue side. UpGrad on an average has been doing quite well. Q4, the revenue growth has been more than 100% quarter on quarter. And we were expecting a similar kind of quarter this time also. But of course, COVID situation. So what we have done to take care of these kind of uncertainties is that, first of all, we are a company which tries to be in constant touch with the learners, trying to understand what they are looking at. A trend which I saw is that everyone has got time in their hand. A large number of people has desire in their hand. A lot of people currently has liquidity in their hand, because the fact is that last month and this month, people have got the salaries and they have not spent anything. What will you spend on? There's no online shopping. There's nowhere to go out. Nothing is there. So suddenly they are in a state where they want to try out something. But at the same time, there is this uncertainty where they are not sure about it. So what we have done is that we have launched a program called as the 10K program, or the 10K initiative. We are saying that we do understand that you have a need. Fine, we will help you out on that. So you take our award-winning courses, whether it be a master's in data science or an MBA program. Just pay 10K, try it for 2 months. If you are interested, you pay the full fees. By that time, the uncertainty in the market will go. By that time, everything will be clear. If you continue finding interest in it, you continue after that. Then only you pay the entire fees. So this program is 3 weeks old. We have around 50,000 plus inquiries on this program, and already we have crossed 600 enrollments. So what I'm trying to say is that the market is new. So you have to figure out newer and newer ways.
Just a question: what are the typical drop-off ratios, and what is the expectation of a drop-off ratio in such a program, if you see?
So typically, UpGrad's drop-off ratio is very, very less. We have an 85% completion rate for our programs. That means 85% of the people actually get the degree. Even the remaining 15% of the people who decides to complete at their own pace finally end up doing it at the end of the year. Maybe not in 1 year, but they take more time. So literally everyone in our platform does that. I am expecting a larger drop-off rate on the 10K program because it is designed like that. I have targeted people who are fence sitting, who always wanted to try it. So that is factored in. But what I'm really trying to do here is that, see, there are tons and tons of people in the world today who has always learned offline. This is the time when they're really trying to understand what is happening online. I mean, try it out and see. And from my previous experience in Byju's, what I've seen is that, see, online is one place where you can take that high quality teacher, high quality learning solution and give it to anyone and everyone. The accessibility, which only few guys used to have earlier, has become everyone because of the technology here, right? So what I've seen in my life is that a person who comes online, a skeptic, and who tries this solution suddenly understands that it is the same. I'm actually been able to hear out or learn from a much better quality teacher who I never had access to. In Byju's, my portfolio, the sales portfolio used to be 65% from tier 2 towns. So this is an understanding and observation I always had. And like Krishna was also mentioning, this is the time when a lot of fence sitters will actually come in and realize that this is much better than what I always had. So I want these people to come in, which is the reason why I have this offer. And I'm telling you, with the quality of the engine we have, this 10K program, I don't expect finally to have a lot of drop-off rate. So these are a few things which we are doing. Yes.
So we have an audience poll here. So one of the questions will be soon floated. So I hope everybody looks into it. So yeah, so we have two questions. First, do you think certification from online programs will be well recognized by employers in India? Yes, depends. And the second question is, what do you think is the primary shortcoming of online courses? I request the our audience to participate in it. And I'll move on to Master Suchindra Kumar. So sir, you have great experience with working with the government in the education sector. My question is, I always imagine that in distance education, there are about 1 crore, 1.5 crore students who every year go for BA, BCom, and all these courses, distance education through IGNOU and a lot of state universities. So do you expect a day wherein all of this logistically at least shifts online? And what is your overall understanding of the online shift towards the online from the government side? So this is my question. Let's say by 2025, what percentage do you think of distance will convert into online, and what bigger an opportunity is it for everyone involved?
So thanks, Sahil, and thanks to all the other panelists. Some very valid points. I think I'm the only one who's not working with a professional services firm. So I will, I'll probably have the onus on myself to counter some of the points.
Unbiased.
Yeah, so a lot of rosy picture by all these people, I think, yeah, but I will probably have a slightly counterpoint, but just coming back to the point you made. And, we work with a lot of universities and a lot of higher education providers, as well as some of the tech companies. In India today, if you look at purely from a regulation perspective, you have a standard in-class teaching, which is the university system. You always have the open and distance learning programs, which actually had some around 50 lakh students as per the last ISHE data, 55 lakh. And then a newer stream, a newer regulated area is an online degree. And as of now, as of January, the first set of only 7 universities have been approved for it. Going forward, what we definitely see is the line blurring between the online and the open systems. In any case, the open university system also used to focus a lot on study centers and, physical textbooks being shipped out to people. I think a lot of that will move online. So sporadically, if you see over the next, not even 2025, maybe even earlier than that, you will probably have a huge overlap between these two. So pretty much 5 million people coming into an open/distance learning model, which will be a huge thing. The challenge there is probably, and that's where my contra-view really begins, the professional education providers like Simplilearn, Great Learning, Emeritus, Simplilearn, all of them are doing a very good job of upskilling. There's a huge demand, if you see, in the core education part of it as well, right? And that's where, so if you see, there's some 37 million people studying in higher education in India. The professional services firm altogether, if you look at the paid models, they are much lower than that. Even the free options, the Coursera courses and things in India, they've got some 6 million, 6.5 million people who enroll for these courses, and actually just less than 5% of them really complete those courses. If you just look at the amount of scale difference, it's humongous. So to bring things to perspective, how is COVID impacted? I think COVID is pretty much like the demonetization, right? EdTech players were around for a very long time, so Udemy's and the Simplilearns have been around for almost a decade or slightly less than that. They had an uptake, but they were not mainstream providers. Very similar to a Paytm at the demonetization time. The digital wallets were always there, but demonetization just catapulted them into the next phase. People had to use them. There was no other option. That's exactly what is happening thanks to this lockdown today. A lot of people who knew about these courses never really wanted to go online. They always thought online is probably a very distant, it doesn't work for them. they've been forced to take those courses, a lot of them are actually enjoying doing those courses as well, right? The big challenge for all these organizations is how do they ensure stickiness of those people? Like Krishna said, or Arjun said, a lot of people are now willing to come in for free. How many of them can you convert to a paid consumer is really the challenge. And how do you really do that? If you look at people, one is obviously people trying to do these things for an upskilling, getting more employer acceptance. A lot of this is about a higher degree. And that is where probably the UpGrad model of partnering with universities or the Emeritus model of partnering with university works very well, because you get a good skill as well as get a degree. Usually in a university system, you get a degree but not a skill. And that's really the need for all these people to come in. So if you can combine both of them together, that's really the good value proposition that you could bring in. Also, if you see, most of these people today, a lot of talk about EdTech is really about having online classrooms. That's not the right way to look at it. Online classrooms do help people get the first touch of it, but teaching is, it's not just about the functional automation of, instead of just standing in front of a class and teaching, people are now doing that in front of a camera without thinking of what goes into it. That's where the organizations like Emeritus, Simplilearn, Great Learning, and Udemy do very well. You've actually planned education in a digital manner and not just standing and giving out a lecture. I think this is again an important area where you need to invest in building capacity within the higher education system and within the trainer ecosystem.
Yeah, Mr. Suchindra, again, the same question. By, let's say, 2025, what percentage do you see of traditional distance learning convert to online? Do you actually see? And I'm
pretty
sure
much 100%, because you will lose the boundary between the two.
So they will
in
be
my view,
learning, right? They'll be all
they will be overlapping. They will be overlapping. All online, all distance education providers will have some degree of online content and online delivery available.
And do you see the prices coming down? Let's say my cost to do a distance program was, let's say, 50,000 or maybe 30,000, 20 to 30,000 a year. With the advent of online, do you see the logistics cost of providers come down and that coming down?
So most of the distance education programs were in any case lower than that, except for some very, very specialized programs. Most of the programs were like 10,000 and below, actually, if you see distance education. I think that will slightly go up to deliver that, but it will primarily remain in the same range, 10 to 20,000, on a mass scale program. Unless you are offering a very clear value driver like an industry internship or maybe a very clear job outcome at the end of it, I don't really see that distance education part moving, or the pure online part moving to a very high value proposition.
Got it. So my next question is to Krishna. I think one of the biggest challenges when we listen to a lot of venture capital firm as well, when we look at online learning is two things like customer acquisition costs. So a lot of us, I see a lot of ads of UpGrad and Simplilearn again and again, retargeting. Google, Facebook is what you spend. So over years, what are the best practices around customer acquisition you found? And second is, how do you guys manage to reduce your dropout ratios? After you, I'll go to Emeritus as well to just for the same question.
Yeah, sure, sir. So I think that's a challenge for sure. Cost of acquisition in India in general is a challenge. Not only education, even if you look at some of the established sectors like e-commerce, right? Both Flipkart and Amazon are still to make money in India. In spite of spending so much of money online and offline, both, I don't think they are, end of the day, making money in it. So this continues to be a challenge. The primary reason is that the options are limited. If you look at the online world, either you spend with money with Google or you spend with Facebook, and pretty much between these two, your 80% options are done. And whenever we have this kind of scenario, end up paying because there are not many options available in the market. So if the entire business is built on a model wherein every incremental customer comes to you through advertisement, I think there is no way to sustain the business. So Simplilearn, and I'm sure all of us are doing the same thing. We're trying to see how every customer becomes a potential ambassador for us to bring in more customers. So that's a work in progress. And the good news is that at Simplilearn, 50% of my business in India is already either repeat or a referral. So I spend money only on acquiring the remaining 50% of the customer, or aim is that going forward that 50% becomes 70%. I can't hear you, Sahil.
So anything around dropping of, helping to drop, addressing the drop-off ratios?
So when it comes to drop-off, we are talking about like people who give an inquiry. So there are multiple ways to define drop-off. One is that all this advertisement brings traffic to the website. Traffic leads to inquiries, and then inquiries leads to paying customers. So there are drop-offs at each stage. Now, there are different ways to handle that. When it comes to traffic to lead, there are a lot of best practices of UX design. How do you visualize your customers? Where do you put the right kind of lead capture to maximize the lead capture on your website? And from lead capture to payment also, there are a lot of, again, best practices. So a lot of things everyone is trying at. If I talk about Simplilearn in particular, so we have multiple price points. So there are customers who are not looking for the same kind. So everyone has a different kind of need when they are looking at an online learning. Like one of the research, the Simplilearn did that out of all our customers, only 30% of them are looking for career switch. Whereas there are product wherein if someone is buying a different kind of product, maybe as much as 90% of them are looking for a career switch. So someone looking for a career switch might have a different kind of product need in mind. Someone who's looking to just learn a skill and learn it really well might have a different kind of product need. So the various price point to make sure that we maximize our conversion out of inquiries that we are getting. But again, this is a science in itself. I think if somebody has to explain it can be a full-fledged course. And in fact, Simplilearn has a course called Website Optimization. So very difficult to do a justice and talk about it at a very, very high level.
So Mohan, anything around the best two things around dropping, all our customer acquisition costs, reducing our spends on Google, because this is what is happening. Will help everybody's profitability. How do you help?
Well, firstly, you're sounding like our investors. So, I mean, that's a question most of us handle at the board level most of the time. So,
but when you talk to your investors, you don't have such a great panel, right? So
absolutely. So, having said that, I think it's some of it is fairly well known. So, for us, one of the advantages is we work with the school brands. So that itself considerably reduces our acquisition costs, because some of these schools are so well known. Including in India, we work with IIMs. So the moment it's an IIM, a lot of that cost is lower because there's organic traffic and so on. So that's definitely one bucket. The other bucket that I think will help us, I used to earlier work for Manipal, and Manipal had all kinds of businesses, from the certification business right up to the degrees and so on. So we are still waiting for that moment when online education, especially professional education, becomes so mainstream that people queue up to buy, right? So that level we've not yet reached, but that's the tipping point. I'm sure it'll happen. So as a category, once people understand that online education can transform lives, people will.
You're still looking for the demonetization moment, right?
No, it's not necessary, because it's momentum. It won't happen one day, but it's momentum. Yeah. Because see, all these, like all the students coming out of UpGrad, everybody coming from Emeritus, from Simplilearn, all of these guys are finally going to go into the system and do stuff there. Which is when, so for example, in Manipal, in the university system, everybody who queues up to get into the engineering college is somebody who was referred by a brother, sister, father, mother, etc. It's not an ad that brought them there, right? So that tipping point would happen for this category also, but it's a little way away. The other thing, like Suchindra mentioned, is I think the regulation will flip that. So regulation, employer, both. Like, let's say Infosys wakes up tomorrow morning and says, I'm going to hire people just with this certificate. So that can change things. Secondly, the regulation, like the last regulation we're still working with, I was just looking at it today, is the UGC regulation of 2018 about online degrees. I think 2018 was a long time ago. Okay, so in today's COVID situation. So if that regulation is updated, then I see the tipping point. So that's really when the CAC will become completely different. Minus that, the regular buckets we know is organic referral, referrals, repeats, and so on.
Great. So I think we have poll results. So I'd love to declare for you. So the first question: do you think certification from online programs will be well recognized by employers? So I think you have a tough chance competing, because most of them, 57%, think that it depends on the portal of offering it and the affiliated university for a given time. So everybody thinks that you got to compete to actually ensure that you get
So
the
now
best.
now you know why the CAC is high, right?
Yeah, so very obvious. So the second question, what do you think is the
I'll just on that one question, I think I'm about the oldest guy on this panel. So I've also seen the 2001 slowdown. We started a company, and like a couple of months later was 2001's all the slowdown and so on. But in a nutshell, I just want to say that what seems unacceptable or will not be mainstream like today will suddenly become mainstream in a year, and in a couple of years people will also fight against it. So as an example, if you took e-commerce in 2007, people just thought Flipkart selling a few books in Kormangla and Bangalore is not going to change the world. But today you have a whole army of retailers, associations saying, hey, we got to start this guy. He's really. So things change fairly quickly. Unexpected stuff happens, like you got Geo offering data so cheap that today online education is nobody now asks saying how are you going to connect. So those are the tipping points I think will happen.
No, in fact, I think this is quite positive. 30% saying that it's legitimate. I think that itself is signaling change.
Yeah, that's a very. I hope that increases, and not the second part. So it helps you not compete and launch very unique.
Yeah, it could be the sample issue also. The people who have come for this webinar are people who accept all this.
So we have enough audience on the both sides, which is students, prospective students, and the B2B guys who want to launch. So what is what do you think is the primary shortcoming of online courses? Seriousness about evaluation, and so I think evaluation. This is one thing I missed. So I'd love to ask Mr. Hari Nair on evaluation. So what do you think? How seriously are you guys taking evaluation, and what is the best practices around evaluation? Do you want to fail a lot of the students to maintain very, very high quality, so that one day it happens that everybody says this course has very, very high failure rate, so it must be good, something like akin to the JEE main? Do you see what is the best strategy around it?
See, our approach on this has been right from day one has been that when it comes to entry, as long as you fulfill the basic eligibility criteria, right? I think you should have a choice at learning, or you should have a chance at learning, right? And learning from the best educators and the best institutions. But when it comes to exit, which is graduating from a program, I think that bar has to be high. Unless and until you have demonstrated that you have learned something well enough to earn that credential, it is required that you go back and relearn till you get to that point. Right? So just to put that in numbers, for example, in all our programs, so our programs, as everybody would know, they're long-term programs, 6 months to 12 months mostly. Every program is broken down into multiple courses. Now, to graduate from a program, you have to clear all courses, and clearing every course means that you have to score at least 60%. Right? It's not the 40%. You have to score at least 60% to clear that course. And if you don't clear a course, you don't clear the program. Of course, you get reattempts, right? We'll ask you to do the project or go through the evaluation again. But unless and until you have met that met that criteria for graduation, you're not going to graduate, which means you won't earn the credential. I think that is extremely important. It's important because that is what builds credibility in the industry, and as you said, even amongst learners. That finally, if somebody is graduating from a great learning data science or AI program, they really need to understand, or be able to express or be able to demonstrate the skills that they were supposed to learn. And I think that is the mode that we've operated in, and I think that served us well.
So high failure rates or no?
No, so actually, if you look at completion rates, as Arjun was saying earlier, our completion rates are a little north of 90%, about 92%, right? But students have to go through multiple attempts, right? So not everybody at one go gets this, right?
So what percentage of students typically will do a reattempt?
See, offhand, I would not remember, but I think my sense would be that it would be about 10-15% would have to reattempt, right? And the other important aspect here also, by the way, is that there is a lot of effort that we put in handholding and learning assistance, right? It is not just about, watching videos online and learning and doing assignments, right? There is an entire, academic operations team that we have that actually engages with students very frequently. So we are able to, looking at data, right, at how learners are consuming content, how frequently are they logging, so on and so forth. We are able to anticipate who is falling off the curve, right? Who's likely to kind of follow the learning curve, and even before that happens, we intervene. Our team intervenes. So, like, if I'm a learner and if I'm at risk, right, the great learning team will intervene a lot before that event of failure has happened, and will call me and tell me that, listen, you are at risk. This is what you need to do, right? And I think that is what pulls along most of the crowd.
So next question to Mr. Irwin. Personally, I previously told, my wife just said that she's just started doing a Udemy course in the COVID, and I have not done it. So I confess that I still to learn something on that. But what are the India-specific trends you see? India-specific, which are very unique. And with Udemy, because there are a lot of educators who make money on Udemy, what are the interesting trends around people who create great content make money? So how is it different from the rest of the world? And so if you can make it more story-like, which is more relatable, maybe 2 to 3 interesting cases, so that'll be very helpful. By the way, it is a hint to everyone on what are the next courses they have to start.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so it'll be great if you can help us.
So Udemy is anchored on the marketplace model, right? So we're not really a content producer.
Yeah, I know, but I wanted to hear great stories.
Yeah, exactly. And it's hard to scale up a marketplace. Which is a two-sided marketplace, both of which potentially are somewhat similar to C2C. And I kind of correlate with my experience in OLX, where we ended up building India's largest consumer-to-consumer classifieds platform. Udemy is almost similar in the sense that teachers on Udemy could be people like you and me who potentially have that skill, right? So I have a skill on growth hacking. So potentially I create a course on the platform because I have a passion around it. I want to share it with the world. And lo and behold, you realize that you can make money out of it as well. And that's what's translated to the growth which we're seeing in terms of instructor growth in the post-COVID period as well. Coming to India-specific stats, there are thousands of instructors who are based in India who are creating courses on the platform. Amongst them, there are scores who are making multi-million dollars on an annual basis just by hosting courses on Udemy. Their learner base.
Two examples. I think it'll be great for the audience.
I can't name them because of confidentiality reasons. But essentially, these are people who are experts in their own field, right? They know their topic. They invest in creating the right learning experience on the platform. They continue to update and upgrade their courses on the platform. And they continue to figure out adjacencies. It's not really one course, right? It's maybe they start with a basic course, but they then figure out a different application of the skill, a new skill which potentially is similar, and so on and so forth. So successful teachers on the platform are the ones who continue to ensure that they protect their revenue generation on the platform. We do a revenue share split between the instructor and learners. They continue to respond to their learner needs as well. The curious thing here is we're a truly global marketplace. So you have instructors based in India who have created courses on the platform. Maybe 20% of their revenues or their students actually come from India. The rest of it comes from all over the world. So imagine the currency kind of translation which happens when we need to make an instructor payout for an instructor based in India. And vice versa. I think one thing unique about India as well, which has helped Udemy to scale up globally, is also that professional skills, they're the same all across the world. The way you teach them, the pedagogy, the instruction, and the way you apply them, it's all similar all over the world. So any course which gets created anywhere in the world for Udemy, if it's English and a language and anchored on a professional skill, immediately becomes relevant for Indian audiences as well. And I think there I want to create a correlation between this whole focus on online education being certificate or degree or diploma driven only. I think there's a space for that as well. But I think a lot of consumer insights and research which we kind of dug in once we started Indian operations were all about, there's a lot of people who have that certificate or that degree, right? There are 100 million people in India who actually have a college degree, which is the largest population of people in any one country, even including China. So the challenge is not really certification or that signal to the world that you've been there, done it. It is also a qualifier for sure. So you need that also because you compete just for CV shortlisting. But beyond that, it's all about skills. Whether you really know that particular skill, have you just really crammed and gone through an assessment, and did you actually learn the skill the hard way? And that's where I think that's maybe a corollary which kind of makes me surprised. So though most of the learning platforms in India have not really seen revenue growth over the past few months, Udemy seen proportionate revenue growth in India over this period of time. We've seen people consuming courses. You talked about customer acquisition costs. Our customer acquisition costs today are down, significantly down as compared to a couple of months back. We see a huge word of mouth. So people like you coming and telling me that, yeah, my wife has done a course. We have people coming in and telling us that they've actually taken a course. And the positive feedback is that the courses are done in a way that whoever actually takes the course is able to practice that skill there and then. So it's not really the way it would be taught in an academic environment. Essentially, our best teachers are essentially found outside of the classroom, people like you and me. And I think those are the nuggets which we get from learners in India. In terms of the kind of courses which are prevalent and which are selling in India, of course, the top ones are the ones which are trending overall as well. Python, Java, ethical hacking, so on and so forth. But COVID-19 has actually led to a significant increase in terms of the breadth or the spectrum of courses which are being bought and consumed on the platform. Be it courses related to business skills. So we see a lot of non-traditional or non-tech courses being bought and consumed on the platform. Be it courses which help you to maintain a balance in life. For instance, how do you effectively work from home, growth mindset, or even courses like coding for kids. So
psychology, like a lot of people are dealing with how do you handle lockdown, because it is just one or two people you see in this, mental stress and these courses, because we are still
exactly. See, these are the courses which have increased roughly about 700% in terms of course purchases during this particular period, because there's heightened anxiety, and the platform allows for new instructors to come in and create new skills and new courses as well. In fact, there are skills which are trending today on the platform which did not really exist on the platform 6 months back. Any new instructor can actually come in, create a new course, and recommend a new skill. As of today, we've got roughly about 23,000 topics on which courses have been created on the platform. And as I mentioned, any new instructor can actually come in and recommend a new skill. It's hard for companies to actually predict what skill will be trending in the future. And a marketplace model allows us to essentially have the latest and greatest skills on it.
I had one question. This is around test prep. Since none of us are from test prep, I'll ask this to Arjun. Yeah. So because we don't have enough representation from the test prep side, but still, that holds a big part of online education. We see, Byju's was predominantly a tab-based, and we see Unacademy now doing great numbers. So how do you see the shift from post-COVID to online? Do you see in 5 years, I'm sure other trends you saw at Byju's where the offline bit, the resonance and the Allens of the world completely getting decimated by Unacademy and Byju's? And what do you think is the right way? Is it more like controlled marketplace, which more Byju's will come out to be, or is it more like a distributed marketplace, which Unacademy is? So if you had to put your money, since you are out of Byju's and I'm
got it.
You don't have that part there. So if you can answer a bit more, add beautiful numbers which are which we can make sense out of, it would be great.
Yeah. So as my profile read, I started my career in Byju's as a teacher. So I was the person who designed the engineering, medical, JEE examination product for them. So literally most of the videos in physics and math are my videos. So that's how I started off. And by the time I left the company, the portfolio was more than 500 crores. Although it was online, the acceptability is very, very high. So what I have observed in this market is, finally, this market is only defined by one thing: how much results can you produce? So that's the reason why you see that every time there is a result, first day Times of India jacket ad is Ellen. Next one, it's Akash, so on and so forth, right? That's
but it can be fake, right? You know, it'll happen like online, and AI, All India rank 1 will be advertised by every platform. That will also happen.
Absolutely. So that's what is happening. See, finally, so what's happening is that the names you see as winners, right, finally are what 1% or 2% of the batch these guys run. So that is so basically what we are talking about is there is an institute where you have thousands of kids, and out of that 10 people are doing good. And Alan and Akash had to create almost 50 classrooms across the country in most of the states to do that. But think about what online can do. Online can have a massive reach than that without any of these investment. All it needs to do is bring in a product which actually makes the kid confident that they can do it and actually crack that model. The DPP model is what you call as daily practice problem model. That is how J is cracked, right? So that model, if you can crack online, that market is yours. And that's what Byju's or these people have been doing. The only, I'm not trying to put money on Byju's or an academy here, but the fact of the matter is this model requires a very, very disciplined approach from the learner side. So it is just not about putting those videos out there or giving them as hundreds of tests. You have to create a schedule and you have to force the kid to follow that schedule, which requires a lot of social aspect, which requires that very interesting teacher to come in there who the kid loves, so on and so forth. And which requires the right kind of test, which requires the right kind of feedback, which requires the intervention of the parents in there. So all this has to come together, which is a lot of time we see that this is important for professional learning also, right? The objective driven, the fact that the social aspect of the classroom is so important. So I am very, very positive that the current model of live classes is going to win over a traditional offline model. Only thing that needs to happen in that test prep model is that they need to evolve a model wherein the social aspect, wherein the interaction between the kids, wherein the competition, wherein the whole idea of giving them an all India rank, giving them the same kind of strictness and scheduling which is forced in a classroom. If that is taken care, it is there. So with the live classes, actually in last 6 months, people are moving there, because earlier what used to happen in Byju's, it's like open, right? Anyone can see the video anytime. Then there is no control. With live classes, you are actually scheduling the class every day, 2 hours. You have to come and visit, and you have to do this paper, because next class I will ask how many you got right. So it's moving there. And COVID situation is actually a big advantage for test prep, because Akash, and this is the time when Akash and the Allens of the world do their all India test, right? 80% of the enrollment happens from that. They are unable to do the test. So the market is open. I will not be surprised if Byju's becomes the largest test prep player at the end of this year.
Let's see how this goes. Typically, the private equity investments in the traditional, offline space have been dwindling. Yeah. So yeah, the bet is in the online only. Yeah. So my last question, and coming towards the end of the session, not completely there, to Mr. Suchindra. If you look at it, the last question which we posed to students was, should there be a regulatory body like UGC for online programs? And increasingly 68% said yes. Now, nobody likes a regulation, and least of all the people, the great gentleman here. But what do you think from the government side is going to happen, and how do these guys need to prepare for that?
So the challenge with the government is they take one step forward in 5 steps, and that's the way most of the regulations have been formed. Ideally, what the government should do is just create an ecosystem of guidelines rather than pure regulations. That's the way you will be supporting all these innovative players and innovative pedagogies to prosper. If you try and create one size fit all for a country like India, it will never work. For example, Udemy has a model which is very different from an UpGrad or a very different from a Great Lakes. If governments usually try and bottle everything into one set of regulations, which is not the best model to go for. So yes, some sort of a regulation or some sort of a framework of a regulation would be required, because the market is not only these 5 players. In India we have opportunity, and so we probably have 5 good players and 500 run by night operators.
And when do you see that coming?
So, at least at the degree level, they've decided to create very strong regulations for online degree providers, online universities. They are also started talking about Vidya Dan too, which was just a week old, where they said, anybody, rather than earlier, only the government was trying to create online content. Now they said, anybody who's got a good content and wants to come in and partner with us, please use our platform, use your content, use your pedagogy. So I think government is moving towards it. It will still take some time, maybe another year to strengthen this. But definitely with the COVID happening, there's a need for a complete relook for edtech players. Not just as pure edtech, but as blended players, as players who support higher education, as players who can offer professional courses. So sooner or later, the government has to work on it. But my only wish for the government is they don't make it, another steel cage.
And let's see. Let's see. So let's keep our fingers crossed that they don't make it very restrictive, and it is still very open to innovation the way it has been, and we continue to do well. I think we are almost around the end of the session. My small question to Mohan is, since your executive programs are partnered with global universities, what percentage of non-Indians do you see coming on?
About 10% of our enrollments is from India. The rest of
10%?
Rest of from across the world.
So you're 90% non-India enrollment company.
That's right. However, that is changing with the partners we are over the last year that we've built with Indian schools. So currently we partner with 6 Indian schools. So that has increased the number of Indian students, but we are still heavily non-Indian.
So, and how do you promote in China? Just like.
So in fact, I also wanted to address an earlier question you had about products. We have an office in China and also an office in Mexico City for LATAM. One of the interesting things there is we are translating courses into Mandarin and also into Spanish and offering it in those regions with the school's approval, etc. So when you were saying what are new products possible, I think in India, for some reason, especially a Hindi language course, courses in Hindi, not a Hindi language course, but courses in Hindi is still not taken up. I mean, many people have attempted it. It's not that they're not. Well, I think there's an opportunity there. I see Unacademy, for instance, taking more Hindi teaching and so that. I think it would be more deeper Hindi. You don't know English, you can't get into the circle. Is a problem this country has versus like in China, if you don't know English, it's no big deal. If you don't know English in Latin, it's no big deal. So but fundamentally we can solve it in society by more of these courses in those languages. Global universities are definitely interested. What we don't know is affordability, interest, and status itself. So maybe people want their degree to be in English, even though they're not good at English.
Perfect.
That's
so last. I'd invite everyone, just to add 2 minutes of parting comments, and it could be around anything. If you want to add your own experience around customer acquisition or helping dropout rates, something which helps all of us. So yeah, starting with Hari, any 2 minute interesting thing you've experienced, very tangible, which all of us can use, mostly from your peers from online learning space.
Yeah, I think my closing remarks or closing thoughts here would be that see, there are multiple companies represented on this panel, and all of these companies, including us, are doing very well, and they have a different take at how this problem of access to quality education, right, should get solved, right? So I think different organizations, different sets of teams are approaching it from a different standpoint. And I'm sure this will evolve, right? This will evolve, and there will be best practices that will get adopted across the board. From our learning, the one key thing that that I would like to put across is that I think when we think of online learning, it's extremely important that we understand that it is not just high quality content that that facilitates high quality online learning, right? That is one of the many components.
You're saying average content can also do if it is priced well.
No, not average content. That's not what I meant. I meant it's a necessary but not a sufficient condition. Right? Your content has to be good, but that is not a sufficient condition to ensuring that your online learning experience is great. I think there's a lot more effort that goes into it in terms of creating a learning experience, and there's a lot of scope where technology, where data plays a part in helping companies like ours build that experience. I think that is extremely important. I'm also saying this in the context because given the times that we are operating in right now, and more traditional educational institutions will be forced to go online. My only request to them is that think about that aspect as well, right? Don't just, because if you just go with the approach that, I'm going to record 100 hours of content and I'm going to put it online and magically all my students are going to learn, they won't learn, right? And then you would have given up on that path for the wrong reasons. It's not as if online won't work, because you just did not set it up right.
Thank you. One special thanks to Irwin, sir. I think you've been answering some great questions to our audience. So thank you, sir, for that. I think the community feels very privileged to answer person like you to answer questions. So for you, Krishna, so any 2-minute thought, on how all of us, especially your peers, can take away from your learning.
So, Sahil, actually, I wanted to give a message to the audience who has joined this webinar, and I'm assuming that a lot of them are students or working professionals. So, to them, my message is that if you are at the fence and you are deciding whether I should do a course, whether I should not do a course, what course should I choose? There are so many different options. Will I get a job after doing this course because job market is going to be bad because of COVID? So, my message to them is that don't worry about the short-term problem. Find a course that is suitable, that you can afford, that meets your requirement, and go ahead and do it from any of the providers that you like. Because not doing something is going to be a bigger challenge for you once scenario improves. And all of us who have seen this 2008 downturn, they actually experience it. Right? The people who are more prepared, they got better advantage when the market became favorable. Now, when it comes to my learning for my peers, I think one thing that I have learned being one of the oldest guy running this business is that it's a very different business compared to any other online business. It's not a business that you can make it one fine day and become really big. You need to have a lot of patience, and you should have real appreciation for what you're doing. If you really like making impact, if you really enjoy making a difference in someone's life through quality education, then it's a business to be part of it. Otherwise, it's not going to be a scenario wherein you start this business today and within a couple of years you can really become pretty big. So personally for me, I think I started this as a blog. I still enjoy what I started, and I'm not in a hurry. So we are all in the business for the last 10 years. I don't mind spending another 20, 30 years because I enjoy every day when my learners write to me saying that they did a course and they got the benefit out of it. And that gives me more satisfaction. So I personally think that education is something where it's a really long gestation period. If you enjoy it, it's something that you can do for the rest of your life.
Thank you. And so, Irwin, sir, anything?
Yeah, just
long gestation period, sir. What are your parting comments?
I'd just like to kind of extend Krishna's thought here as well, as in these are unprecedented times. A lot of people are suffering and might be suffering in future as well. At the same time, this is the time when people can reevaluate where they are in their careers. How can they adjust? How can they upskill? How can they improve their lives through acquiring the right skills? Now the time is more than ever important for both employees as well as corporations to learn new skills. And we're seeing uptake on the corporate side as well. In fact, a lot of enterprises who had taken Udemy licenses, they're actually increasing the number of seats they have within their enterprises right now, because there are more people who are demanding learning solutions, especially as they're working from home. So we remain extremely bullish about the opportunity in India. Indians are really curious learners. So one of the things which has come out in Udemy internal stats is Indians ask the most number of questions. They are the most engaged.
They're the most curious lot, yeah.
They are the most curious lot. They ask the most number of questions. They complete courses at a much faster pace than any other nationality. And the growth in enrollments is actually tied in very closely with growth in course consumption and completion as well. So we remain extremely bullish about how
So
the
the optimist thing is to all my your peers here that you guys have the best audience here to serve to. So let's make a great job of it. Arjun, anything?
Yeah, I think most of the things have been told. It's just about reiteration. But yeah, for all the people who have patiently listened to all these things, the good part, see, we started with around 225 people. Still, we are at 198. So I'm
We
hoping
started with 280, so now we are 28.
we did not do badly. I'm happy.
We didn't do bad. I mean, great thanks to the audience.
Yeah, so all you guys, this is just a pause, as I told earlier. And whenever such things happen, the best prepared guys are the ones who gets the best, gets the best positive outcome out of all these things. 2008, if I remember, was also the batch who got the worst placements from the college, but ended up having the best career trajectory because, some of them at least. A lot of these people who are at the CEO level today are from the 2008 batches.
But
They
you are one of them?
really went up. Yeah, you can say I was around that. I was 2007. Yeah. So the point is, this is a freeze. Big things are going to come. Be prepared for the future. So as Krishna was also saying, doesn't matter. Whatever you like, go and take it. What happens? That's all.
Great. Mohan, anything from the international perspective? I think a lot of your peers might want to be $5 or $10 million company international funded.
So more than international, one of the things that I'm eagerly looking for, especially from an audience like this, from new entrepreneurs, is while this industry is called ed tech, it's actually been very low tech. So, for example, two things that I would look at, especially I'm not saying the current companies, I'm saying the ecosystem requires companies. One is, for example, holographic projections. Using holographic projections to teach is something I don't know why we haven't come to it yet. So, for example, if there's a really high quality faculty who was standing right in front of me and teach me, to make a world of difference. Second thing is what Arjun was also mentioning about the nagging and the follow-up, the social stuff. Things like Alexa, things like having a robot at home which follows up with you, which wakes you up and says, hey, you have to do 3 problems today, etc. I think these are two, like a Fitbit equivalent in education. I think these are 2-3 areas where we could do much more in terms of tech. If you look at ed tech today, the tech we are using really was invented a long time ago. So I think that could be a cusp of, that will finally solve this question of, is this education as good as classroom? The answer is yes, because you got a photographic teacher standing right next to you.
Get the whole social aspect of learning here. Maybe.
Yes, and then the nagging and all of that built into the tech. It would be the next big thing. And that will certainly come from very young people who start to, oldies like me can't pull that off. So
No, you're fairly younger.
yeah. Yeah, so that's
Hari, please don't call yourself old next time.
I think I started the closing remarks. I think we.
Oh, I will start with. Suchindra sir.
Yeah, so I guess just 2 parts here. One is for the audience. I guess a lot of these audience, I'm sure, were busy in their daily lives. While they all wanted, no one likes the jobs. That includes all of us. That's why a lot of these people are entrepreneurs, because they want to do their own things. I think this is a very good pause that has been made available to you, thanks to COVID. If you take it in a positive way, time for you to reflect on what you would want to do. I guess there are multiple options of your own professional learning which are available, not just for these 5 organizations, but many more. Take this break as the time when you could think of your future. As Irwin said right at the beginning, an average person changes anything between 6 to 10 careers during his working life. There's nothing stopping you. And I guess all these players and many more are there to help you decide that career for you. So this is probably one of the best opportunities you probably got. You effectively got a 2-month break deciding, thinking what you would want to do. I guess the second part, which is to these 5 excellent panelists that I've had, I guess one of the other places that would require, and I guess there are a lot of academic leaders on this webinar as well. It's time for them to think critically in terms of what they can do to promote it. they are really in the mainstream of it. They can probably use the good channels of all of these players to promote online in a much better way. And that's probably where EdTech will really take off. 35 million people in higher education in India. If even you were to capture 20% of them, that's 7 million more than what everyone together is doing today. So, education can really push, so while EdTech can bring in those deep technologies like Mohan spoke about, the education players can bring in the experiences, the peer learning, and the mentoring aspect of things. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Thank you all for attending. So we at Collegedunia thank all of you for hosting. We had a great panel, which was all of you. We want to continue to demonstrate our leadership as a college search engine, and also inviting a lot of leaders in EdTech, especially all of you guys, to actually share your thoughts. Yeah, we'd love to be in touch with all of you, and we also want to ensure that all of you enjoy lower acquisition costs, and that is our motto at Collegedunia. So we hope we continue to deliver all of you that. And thank you all. Thank you for being there. And thank you all, the audience. You were a great audience and great questions. So,
Thanks, Sahil.
Thank you. Thanks, guys. Stay safe, all of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, thanks.